My sister and I were just sitting watching television one boring Saturday afternoon when the phone rang. It was my mum, who had just moved up to Charters Towers. She was ringing to tell us that she had cancer, ovarian cancer, and that the doctors did not think that her prognosis was good. My sister and I were in shock. We sat staring at the walls before we looked at each other and both said, "We've got to get up there and be with them." The next morning we woke up at 5 o'clock and set off on our road trip. It was a long 13-hour drive. Lots of trees, rocks, dirt, and not much else. When we arrived at Mum and Dad's new house, the first person we saw was our dad. He was so happy to see us. He cried and he hugged us. Then we went in to see Mum. She was sitting in the recliner and she looked sick. With her was her loyal dog Molly. Molly had not left her side since Mum had started getting sick. If Mum stayed in bed all day, so did Molly. If Mum went to get a blood test, Molly went in the car too. That evening my mum took us up to her favourite place in Charters Towers. They hadn't actually been living there for very long, and Mum hadn't had much of a chance to explore yet, but she had found this one place that made her happy. The lookout at Charters Towers was beautiful, especially at sunset. While we were up there, the rock wallabies came out to pay us a visit. We stayed with Mum and Dad during that week. We went to the hospital with her, we went to doctor's appointments with her, and we eventually helped them make the decision to move back to Brisbane to be closer to specialists and hopefully treatment. We put Mum and Dad on a plane, and my sisters, my brother and I packed up their house so the removalists could come and collect all of their belongings. The removalists came, packed their truck, and I started the long, boring trip back to my house. More trees, rocks and dirt, and not much else, for another 13 hours. When I arrived home, my children were very happy to have their mummy home. They wanted mummy-made lunches and mummy-made dinners and mummy tucking in bed at night. They had missed me, and I had missed them. I was only home for a week before I got another phone call from my dad. My mum was very, very sick, and we needed to come straight away. The doctors had said she didn't have much longer, so once again I prepared for a road trip. This time, however, it was only a 5-hour trip, and my husband and children were coming with me. We arrived at the hospital and saw Mum. She looked much sicker. She told me that she'd decided not to pursue any treatment, that she was ready to die, that she was too sick to keep fighting. I was shocked. How could a healthy woman who was only 53 go from being happy and healthy to dying in a matter of only 3 weeks? I don't think I realised then quite how sick she was. The next day we arrived back at the hospital. When we got there, Mum announced that she was willing to try some of the available treatment options. We were ecstatic. We would have our mum with us for a few more months. We spent that day in the waiting room at the hospital, taking it in turns to spend quiet time with Mum and just be with her. At about 6 o'clock that afternoon, my dad ran into the waiting room. His face looked grey and his eyes were red. He told us we had to come into Mum's room, that the doctors really didn't think she had long at all. We all went in. She looked sicker than I've ever seen anybody look. We all sat and held her hands, and we told her that we love her. For 2 hours we sat with her and talked with her, and then at 8 o'clock that night she died. My mum was incredible. She was the life and soul of any party. She loved life and she lived it to the full. She taught me everything I know about parenting and children and love, and I miss her every single day.